Hey friends, what's up? Welcome to When You Lead Live. I'm your host, Heidi Mitro. This is the show where we state the obvious and then we reframe it because when you lead, the world truly changes. And I know it sounds kind of trite. And I'm going to share a little story before we talk about today's topic. Today's topic is especially for you if you feel like you have to prove yourself. And how would you know if you're trying to prove yourself? Here are some symptoms of proving yourself: resentment, feeling overwhelmed, feeling unappreciated, feeling like you don't have enough time. Those are some quick symptoms of proving yourself. And I had an opportunity yesterday to do some team end of the year team group work. And it's so exciting to be in person with people again. So I've been working with this team for the past year and it's been wonderful. Good morning, welcome. It's been wonderful to work with this team and watch them. We initially started with them learning about their Colby A indexes, which was incredible. And what we've been able to do is use that information and really infuse their positions with their strengths, their talents. Along the way, we've been able to really coach them individually and also to support their team synergy, and it's been phenomenal. And yesterday I had the opportunity to be in Minneapolis. All of these women flew in from all over the country, and we had a beautiful day together where we did some reflection, we did some releasing of the past year. I did an exercise where they were able to share with each other what they appreciated about one another. It was powerful, it was important. And this was on a Monday in freaking December. It was a travel day for these women. Many of them have, families. They're coming from, big events. And it's the end of the year. We are at the end of this quarter. We're headed into what can be considered a really stressful time of year. Although, if you talk to anyone, every time is always a stressful time. However, we left the day. We got done about 5:30, and the feedback that I got was one of like, wow, I feel re-energized. One of the comments that I've really been sitting with that's been incredible is I took all of this vacation and I didn't feel like I got a reprieve. And this is what I needed. I needed to let some of these things go, right? I needed to receive this. I needed to be in shared community with people I care about. And what I watched, so what we did at the beginning is I had them do some reflection about what they were proud of. And this tends to be really challenging for high achieving women. And it sounds kind of counterintuitive because with high achievers, you think, well, look at your accomplishments, look at what you have done. Look at all of the ways that you are brilliant. You look fantastic on paper. You look like you have everything, buttoned up. And that was feedback that a lot of them received was like, you look so cool, calm, and collected. And yet they're feeling like frauds. They're suffering from imposter syndrome. This is why I do what I do. That's so important that we heal this. Because especially when women lead, the culture of corporations, the culture of our world changes. And watching them receive was really powerful. But at the beginning, I had them self reflect, I had them practice giving themselves credit. And it was hard, it was challenging. Some of the feedback that I got was that I'm not used to speaking nicely about myself. And yet, when we got to the part of the day where they were sharing with each other what was so obvious about each other, and that was so like, of course, this is true, many of them had a hard time identifying that within themselves. And yet, it's the very thing that they were trying to prove, right? That it's the very thing that they want to be known for, but they don't feel it. There's a disconnect. It's not congruent. And what ended up happening by the end of the day is you could feel them receiving. You could feel them going, oh, yeah, I get it. And the tune that was sung about each of them individually from the collective was so consistent. Everybody said the same version of what was obvious about these women. And it was like they were kind of hearing it for the first time. Phenomenal experience. I left there so full. I left there so encouraged. The words that were spoken at the end when we were doing, what kind of our final wrap up was like, I feel energized. I feel refreshed. I feel ready for next year. If you want that type of experience, I do have a couple of spots left on my calendar for this year. We can do a reflection session. You can have this experience of going, wow, look at what I did. Look at who I've become. Look at who I've impacted. And then you can set some of those heavy things down, and then we can head into 23 in a different way. I'm also hosting a workshop. Everything's recorded, so you can get the first workshop we did last Thursday. There's 2 more sessions. It's all about goal setting, a wiser way, a more holistic way, a more congruent way. We still have room for that. If you'd like to join us, I can put the link in the comments below, okay? So it's December as of this recording, and this is the time where goals are talked about. This is the time where everybody's going to start talking about New Year's resolutions. It's also a really stressful, compact time. It's like we try to pack a lot into December. And what ends up happening is we goal set under pressure. We goal set with this, like, I got to prove it. I got to prove that I'm X, Y, and Z. And so today's show really is about what happens when you're in the energy of proving. What happens in your body, what happens in your relationships when you have to prove it. And so you know me, you know I'm a lover of words, you know that it's really important for me to have an understanding, to have like a level set, so that as we move forward, we're moving together with shared language. So I'm going to give you the definition of prove. And think about this in terms of like a scientific method. There's a theory and you're set out to prove it. Proving is like a question. Proving is like, what happens when I do this? And yet, most people are trying to prove that they are responsible, that they are, a good person, that they are on time, that they are dependable, and all of these really utilitarian, puritanical qualities. I'm going to prove that I am all of these things that I actually don't feel like I am, but I'm going to try to outwork that feeling. That's what happens. We try to prove. We try to test, like, am I this? You show up like a question mark. Another definition is to evaluate. The other definition, this is actually the etymology, is to render certain. Most of us, when we are proving, we're in this energy of like, I have to make certain that someone thinks something about me. Why are we starting with that? You're doomed to fail. You're doomed to feel disappointed. You are doomed to not actually achieve your goals when you're in a space of proving something that you don't actually feel about yourself, or it may not be a value of yours. I'm going to tell you a story about that in a second. The etymology that we're going to highlight is to put out doubt. When I read that, I was like, it's showing itself again, that word doubt. I've done an entire show around doubt. It's something that I talk about extensively inside the inner circle and when I'm consulting, because doubt literally means to be of 2 minds. And if you are of 2 minds and you are going around proving yourself, you're just perpetuating disconnection. When you experience doubt, that is the invitation from your subconscious, from your body, to stop and come to the one body that you have. Because your body is going to give you information. Your body is going to tell you where you are not congruent with your purpose, your values, or your boundaries. Those are the 3 tenets of when you lead. Purpose, values, boundaries. It matters. So when you are doubting, when you are running around trying to prove, and you're like, question, God, am I good enough? Am I all of the things? That's your invitation to come home to yourself. So I do this exercise inside of our group, and it's from the book The Energy of Money by Maria Nemeth. Check this book out, get it, memorize it, do every single exercise. Not only will your experience with money change, but your experience with yourself will change. And one of the exercises that she has you do is to make a list of people that you admire. And I've done this multiple times. It's illuminating every single time I do it. And every time this idea comes up, like, I should do it's called Standards of Integrity. Every time I think to do it, my subconscious is like, don't bother, you've already done it. And I know that is like an upper limit. That's from The Big Leap. It's an upper limit going, nah, you don't need it. I need it every time. So I made a list the very first time I did it of everybody that I admire. And then you write down the qualities that you admire about them. What ends up happening is you have this huge list of things that you admire. Now, for my entire life, I have tried to prove that I'm responsible. That has been like the drumbeat, that has been the hum, that has been the thing that if someone said, God, you're so responsible, I was like, okay, it worked. It's like I almost tricked them into thinking that I was responsible. I made such a comprehensive list of all of the people that I admired. And do you know the word that did not show up on my list? It was responsible. And yet I had centered it. I had reorganized my entire life around being responsible. And I can feel it even to this day of my first grade teacher, Sister Mary, saying, I like the way Heidi is sitting. And it was like, okay, sit still. Prove that you're a good person. Prove that you're responsible. Prove that you are a listener. Prove that you are a good girl. Prove that you're a good girl. Prove that you're a good girl. Prove that you're a good girl. No more. I am a kind woman, but I am not a good girl. Good girls sit and are quiet. Good girls sit and they don't give their opinion. Good girls don't change the world. Responsible people, the way that I was using that word, are totally boxed in by proving it. There's no creativity when you're proving. There's no creativity when you are trying to really manipulate, and I mean that in that harshness of that word, when you're trying to manipulate how other people see you so that you feel okay about yourself. It's a bullshit substitution for just a real relationship with yourself. When I realized I'd been organizing my schedule, my job, my marriage, my parenthood around being responsible, when that realization happened, I bawled. All of the structures were around keeping me in line, keeping me in place. It's even this physiology, right? You can feel it. It was like I was boxed in. What I was not allowed to be. So when I went through body mind coaching, we learned about what's called a proving cycle. Laura Wick taught me this. A proving cycle is who you think you have to be. For me, that was being responsible. And if I'm responsible, that means I do this. Except when I do this, it makes me feel rigid. It makes me feel pissed. It makes me feel resentful. And then I treat people in a way that I don't mean to. And then I'm irritated. And then I do things that are irresponsible. I blow people off, right? Or I'm disrespectful, or I'm unkind to myself. It's the antithesis of being responsible. What was I not allowed to be? This question, when I went to Body Mind Live with Laura, and she said, what are you not allowed to be? The first thing that came out for me was a show-off. I wasn't allowed to be a show-off. I am a show-off. I like to be the center of attention, not to center me as a human, but I think what I have to say is really important. I like who I am. I like to be able to be in a room like I was yesterday. So I have 17 thoughts coming in at the same time. Yesterday was a win for me personally. Professionally, it was a huge win to be able to work with this caliber of women, to be working in a team, to be in an office building where there were a bunch of people was very strange again. But I was uncertain a little bit as I was prepping for this meeting. It was like, this is the activity that I want to do. Is it enough? Is it good enough? Will they get it? Are they going to think I'm nuts? Will they think that I think I'm too good? All of the limiting beliefs came in because if I had to prove that this was a good training, that's what was going to happen. So instead, I did what I'm going to teach you in a moment, I got into this embodiment literally of being a show-off. Now, here's what happens when I'm a show-off. So you have a proving cycle, and this again came from my body mind coaching training. You have a proving cycle, and then you have an authenticating cycle. Who are you not allowed to be? Who have you been told don't do that? For me, it was a show-off. When I'm a show-off, here's what actually happens. I share my ideas. I take risks. I think about things in a unique way, and I put them all together, like the etymology of words. I love words. It's part of how I'm wired. I express, here's the alternative. I express who I am. The We no longer have to prove. I want you to express. Here's your alternative, is to express who you are. So if I'm expressing myself, I am sharing, I am identifying core needs that people have, especially high achieving women. I left that meeting equal parts so grateful and profoundly sad at the same time. Oh, the women that were in this room are so capable, so kind, so generous, and so loving. And yet, at this season, there's still massive amounts of doubt. This is an epidemic. This type of self-doubt is an epidemic. And I wanted to just scream at the top of my lungs. And at the end, I did get pretty fired up. I was like, the time is now. Stand 2 feet in what has been discovered today and go kick some ass. And when I'm a show off, I have the opportunity to say that. I have the opportunity to go in, I can change and help to facilitate change in an organization. That's powerful. If I had to prove I was responsible, I would have gone in very clinical. It would have been very sterile. But instead, I risked it. I risked being a show off, sharing my ideas, inviting them into my world, inviting them into these realizations so that they could feel it for themselves. And what ended up happening is we all left there, and I coached for 4 hours straight. I could have kept going. I was so lit up. That's what happens when you're expressing yourself. That's what happens when you allow yourself to be that which you were not allowed to be. I had a coach when I was in 7th or 8th grade. I was a basketball player. I was tall for my age at that time. Well, tall for basketball at that time. And I was a rebounding machine. I was built like I am now, where I had hips and whatever. And I had a coach say to me, I must have rebounded every ball. And he pulled me out and he's like, stop showing off. And I had no idea what I had done wrong. It was so uncomfortable because it was like, I'm just doing like what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to crash the boards. And I got so self-conscious. It was like, okay, I should be selfless then. And I never took another shot that game. I passed every ball. I didn't go for any rebounds. It was so confusing to me. I have since realized that that wasn't about me. That was about him. I'm going to rebound. I am going to show off. I'm not going to show off because I need the personal attention. I'm going to show off because that's what I was not allowed to be. And when I actually show off and I express my ideas and I draw people in and I coach them and I help them understand where they're coming from and then ask the question and the light bulb goes off with their answer, that is a privilege of a lifetime. And I'm going to continue to risk it. Is it uncomfortable? Sure. Am I going to meet my shadow self? Of course I am. But what else are we here to do other than that? Right? The alternative to proving yourself is expressing who you are. You have been given this gift. There is no one on the planet that is like you or will ever be like you. This day will never happen again. This time and space will never happen again. Ever. You get to express who you are. Stop being busy proving it. You don't have to run around and prove that you're a good person, prove that you're reliable, prove that you're dependable, prove that you're Stop. Because the core need that is actually being illuminated is connection. When you are busy running to everybody else's house to get a drink of water, to prove that, oh, I'm here, you can depend on me, go home. Go to your own home. Come back to your own home. You have your source there. Drink from your own brilliance. Express who you actually are. The definition of express, you guys, listen to this. Expressing, it comes from within. To represent, and I'm going to break that word down, represent, to represent what already is. If you are busy trying to prove something that you don't feel, it's such a waste of energy. I understand what happens because we get rewarded for it, especially women, especially culturally. But what if just for today you stopped trying to prove yourself and you expressed who you actually are? You represented what is actually inside of you. What might happen? How might things change? How might your relationships actually be more connected? Right? To describe, to portray, here's the other one that I really loved. To express, the etymology means to translate. You have an inner language. You have an inner landscape. You have this inner knowing. What might happen if you take what you know to be true inside of you and expressed it? How might the world change? How might we show up more vulnerably? How might we show up more equitably? How might we be way more inclusive? If we recognize that there was this expressing that not only that we have, but other people have as well, and we bared witness to it. Yesterday I had these women play ping pong of what was going well. It was the self-reflection ping pong. And the rules of the game were, tell me something that you're proud of. Tell me something that happened this year that you're really excited about. And then they would share and the other person would go, I'm so happy for you. That's wonderful. Thank you for entrusting me with that. Being a witness to someone expressing who they are is a gift. What would happen if we were allowed to express ourselves and we demanded this from our cultures? We demanded this from our relationships. I had a client say, you're ruining me. You're ruining me for all my other relationships because now I have this knowing that I can have this. That I can have someone in my world who will be respectful and challenge me and have boundaries and purpose. Good, I hope I do. I hope you take what you've learned and you go infiltrate all of the communities that you live in. You change the world from the inside out. You change it by expressing who you already are, right? Here's the definition, or excuse me, the etymology of express that I want you to take with you, because this is going to change your life. And I mean this with all of that drama. To state explicitly. There's something very different when you state something explicitly. That is the definition, that is the etymology of express. You state who you are explicitly. This is who I am. This is who I know myself to be. And this is how I express the gifts that I have been given. Maybe it's through your art, maybe it's through your music, maybe it's through your business, maybe it's through your position in your company, through your role in your family. When you express who you are, you stand 2 feet in your power and you state it explicitly. It's okay to try things on. It's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to evolve and change. Who you are today is not who you're going to be in a year. You'll be a deeper version of that. You're allowed to change your mind. But if you are proving something, you are leading with a question. Am I good enough? Right? What if they don't like me? What if I don't do this? If you begin as though you are a question mark, you will spend the rest of your life asking a question. You will spend the rest of your life proving yourself. You stand 2 feet in your power and you state explicitly who I am. This is who I am. This is who I am excited to be. This is who I am learning that I am. You will invest your life. You will get a return on investment. And you do get to choose. Are you going to spend or are you going to invest in yourself? It is such a massive energy suck to run around trying to prove something that you don't actually feel to be true. There is so much more power when you stand in your knowing and you express it. I'm so curious what landed for you today. I am on freaking fire. I'm so hot right now. I'm like, ah. When you lead with expressing who you are, your life changes, your community changes, the world changes. And we need your leadership today. We need the fullest expression of who you are today. The fullest version that you have access to. We need her today. On my way down the steps from my studio, I have a giant Post-it note that said, the greatest contribution I can give the world is to express myself as who I am. And I see that every time I'm done working. Did I express myself? Yeah. Did I give other people permission to and create a safe environment for them to express themselves? Yes, that is a job well done, and that is a life well lived. If you want community who is doing this work, we have room for you in the inner circle. If you are working for a company and you want that type of leadership, you want expressive leadership, and you don't have it, I want to work with you. I do. Hit me up. You can reach me at Heidi@HeidiMitro.com. You can hit me in the DMs. I'm ready. Are you? What might happen if you bookend this year, you complete this proving, and you begin to express? Leave what you learned in the comments. I respond to every single one of them, and I look forward to seeing you next week. Be well.